Nobody hands you a manual when you turn 20, or 30, or 40, or 50. You just wake up one day in a new decade wondering if you're behind, on track, or completely lost. But developmental psychologists have actually mapped this out. Each decade of your life has a specific biological and psychological job it's designed to do. Today, your life is broken into 4 stages, and you know what each one is actually for. Stage 1. Exploration, roughly ages 18 to 28. Psychologist Jeffrey Arnett coined a term for this stage, emerging adulthood. Your brain's prefrontal cortex is still finishing development, which means you're biologically wired for risk-taking and identity exploration. This is the decade for trying things, jobs that don't work out, relationships that teach you what you don't want, moves that go nowhere. None of that is failure. Arnett's research found this instability is actually the primary developmental task of the decade, not a deviation from it. Your 20s are not for having it figured out, they're for finding out what figured out even means for you. Stage 2, consolidation, roughly ages 29 to 39. Erik Erikson described this stage as intimacy versus isolation, a decade focused on building deep, lasting bonds. This is also when your prefrontal cortex is finally fully developed, which is why your 20s choices suddenly feel different to make in your 30s. You're not less spontaneous, you're running decisions through a brain that can finally see further down the road. And this decade isn't about narrowing your life out of fear, it's about choosing depth over breadth on purpose. Stage 3. Generativity, roughly ages 40 to 59. Erikson called the next stage generativity versus stagnation, contributing something that outlasts you. Research on midlife well-being consistently finds people in this stage report higher life satisfaction when they shift focus from personal achievement to contribution. The famous midlife crisis, psychologists now believe it's less about aging and more about a stalled sense of contribution. The crisis isn't the decade, it's what happens when someone tries to stay in stage 1 mode during a stage 3 decade. Stage 4, integrity, roughly ages 60 and beyond. Erikson's final stage is ego integrity versus despair, looking back not to judge your life, but to integrate it. Psychologist Laura Carstensen's research found that as people sense time becoming more limited, they don't become sadder. They become more emotionally selective, prioritizing meaningful relationships. Older adults, on average, report higher emotional well-being than almost any other age group. This isn't decline. It's the entire point the first 3 stages were building toward. Put all 4 stages together and a pattern emerges. Your 20s are for exploring who you are. Your 30s are for choosing who you'll build a life with. Your 40s and 50s are for contributing what you've built. Your 60s onwards are for integrating what it all meant. None of these stages is better than another. They're not a ranking, they're a sequence. The anxiety most people feel about aging isn't about getting older. It's about not knowing what each stage is actually for and measuring themselves against the wrong decade's job. If you're in your 20s and everything feels unstable, that's not a warning sign, that's the job. If you're in your 30s and your world feels smaller than it used to, that's not settling, that's depth. If you're in your 40s or 50s and success feels less satisfying than expected, you might be chasing the wrong stage's reward. And if you're 60 or beyond and you find yourself looking back more than forward, that's not decline, that's integration. That's the whole point. Comment which decade you're currently in and what you've realized it's actually for. Send this to someone in a decade that's confusing them right now. Subscribe. Next week, why your childhood memories aren't actually accurate and what your brain does instead. See you there.